It's awful.
It exploded all over her.
Wow.
On camera. All right, here we go. All right, so we are here with Mallory and David from Orange County Public Schools, and I have Amanda joining me also. So Mallory and David, actually, ladies first. Mallory, would you like to do a quick introduction?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Mallory Reeves. I'm Senior Administrator here for Food Nutrition Services at Orange County Public School, where I oversee the finance and procurement teams.
And hi, everyone. My name is Dave Richardson. I am the Senior Manager over Commodities here at Orange County Public Schools.
Awesome. And thank you both so much for hopping on this videos podcast with us. We hear and we've seen the amazing things that you guys are doing down at Orange County Public Schools. So we just kind of wanted to chat with you a bit about that. So can you talk to us first of all about the way you guys forecast? Like, how does forecasting work with you?
Right. So forecasting, we hear it at every meeting we go to, and it's super important. It gives all the stakeholders an idea as to what they need to prepare for and how to organize our business, basically. So we forecast. We work the procurement team that I oversee. We work with our menu team, and we look at the menu for the upcoming year. We will follow the products and put them all into a nice spreadsheet, and at the end will give us a nice forecast as to how many pounds we need to divert for each material items, the cheese and the chicken, things like that. And that sets up for our order for the upcoming year.
Okay, interesting. And as far as your allocations, how do you guys distribute that? Because I mean, you guys are getting pounds and pounds of food. Like, how do you guys distribute that?
Right. So basically, to simplify it, there's 3 buckets. There's a processing bucket that we divert pounds to for our manufacturers, companies like Tyson, Land O'Lakes, that kind of thing. Then we have a second bucket that we use for a delivery, and that is considered brown box. And then we have a third bucket that we utilize, and that is our Department of Defense fresh produce. And so all of our diversions go into one of those 3 buckets. Generally, once our forecast is done, we'll take that and fill those buckets. And as a general rule, we put about 75% of our entitlement into the processing bucket with the manufacturers. And then the other 25-30% will split across both the DoD, the Department of Defense produce, and the direct ship or the brown box.
David, my favorite bucket is the DoD fresh bucket.
That
bucket boxes.
You use boxes, buckets, it's all the same.
But I think what is fascinating is actually that program was incepted because the Department of Defense they called it a matter of national security, that individuals were coming into the Army and the different armed forces rather, and they were overweight. So the Department of Defense said that this is a matter of national security. We're going to give them access to free fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's crazy to me. I mean, every time it pulls up, I'm like, thank you, DoD. I get so excited because I think it's such an incredible value. But of your processing, do you do more NOI, fee for service? How does Florida work?
Yeah, most of it is NOI. It's much easier to manage it. If let's say we were to buy a case of chicken, if we were to run out of pounds for that chicken, we could then just buy it commercially. If fee for service or even the brown box, when you purchase those, that belongs to that specific district, and so you're basically you own it whether you can use it or not. So you have to figure out a way to use it. Let's just say tomorrow, if we didn't want to use chicken, or we wanted to change something, we would be able to do that seamlessly, because we don't own that product until once we pull it in, and then the net off invoice is handled that way. So it really gives a lot more flexibility from that processing side of things. And even with the DoD, there's certain limitations with that. There's a catalog that is limited, and it's also the pack size is what it is. You can't order 10 pounds of apples. You have to order that case of apples. So even though all of those buckets are essential and we use each one of them, they each have their own particular mannerisms.
Do you have a 198 count apple? Because if you do, I'm moving to Florida. The 125s are too big for my elementary kids.
Sometimes they look like that, but no, we don't have those.
It's so amazing to me, like hearing about commodities coming from the IT side, because my experience, like I have an IT background, and this just sounds like a whole different universe to me. So do you guys get support from manufacturers like Tyson and others when it comes to commodity processing? Like how do they help you guys figure this all out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you, support from the manufacturers and all of the other stakeholders, but with the manufacturers, when it comes to just starting with the forecasting, they're able to pull the numbers that each district used in previous years, and they can support you that way with the initial order and say, well, this is how much you guys used last year per month. So it really sets you up nicely. And then throughout the year, they're able to see a much more broad scale of things. They can look nationally and see maybe this state or this district is struggling and needs some help. And if you're doing well, they're able to transfer those pounds and help your district out and help the districts out that may be struggling. So they see a much more global view than what we have. And the communication, we're blessed to have the manufacturers that are just tremendous with reaching out to us and talking to us about whether it be recipes. If we're sitting heavy on certain commodities, they might come out and show us or give us a recipe that will help move the commodities a little bit easier. So all around, it's just been, the support from manufacturers has been great.
So what would you say the biggest benefit is to commodity processing versus not commodity processing? 'Cause I know there are some districts out there that just don't do it for particular items. So why do you guys choose to do it?
Well, I would say for us, cost savings is obviously the first and foremost biggest benefit. To be able to essentially get a % discount off of otherwise commercial product is fabulous. And so a lot of our manufacturers also sell commercially. So it's really nice too to close the gap between what the children see on their plate at school and then what they might see at the grocery store with mom and dad. And so it's really nice to have those name brands that students can relate to, like Tyson, like Kraft, like Atlanta Lakes, because it really does help bridge that gap.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Amanda, I mean, do you have anything to add? You're like you're huge into this world yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
Are there but you come from a different size school district, right? So
yeah, we're just about the same size as that. Sure.
I think your district is probably the same size as one of their high schools.
Probably one of their smaller high schools. Me and my 3,500 students, we're waiting right now. 'Tis the season for that the March opening for your state to actually decide what kind of trucks are going to be coming in for brown box. So, Marlon, that was bucket number 3 that David was talking about. Those brown box. Oh, it was 2. It was 2.
Okay, I was about to correct you.
I know. So those brown box USDA foods, the state has to decide what they're going to be bringing in, because when they bring it in, it's one big gigantic truck, and if they don't have enough interest, that truck just magically disappears. I mean, it's a very interesting system, and there are a lot of moving parts, including some states that sometimes share trucks. That happens more in the Northeast. I'm sure it probably doesn't happen for you guys in Florida, but
speaking of trucks, Amanda, have you seen their food truck?
Harlan, their food truck, I actually had the privilege of touring their food truck back in 13 when SNIC was there, and we came there on a pre-con, and I had never seen a food service operation that big, and I actually was able to get on your truck. But I must say, I was unbelievably jealous of our team as they were on your brand new food truck. And
Yes, we
I
were.
was asking him 50 billion questions. And I finally said, please hand the phone to someone who can answer my questions.
So I had to give the phone to Scotty.
I was like, is that a ventless oven? I was like, where's the exhaust unit? But I mean, gosh, it is gorgeous. Just absolutely fantastic. I mean, we could talk about procuring equipment another time, because that's a completely different thing altogether, because I can't imagine all of the hours that were spent in outfitting that unit with the individual pieces, as well as for the design. And yeah, we're going to have to schedule another call for that one, Marlon.
Yep. And I'm assuming that you guys are serving USDA foods off of that food truck, correct?
We serve USDA foods wherever we can. On the sidewalk, on the truck, yes.
There we go. Amazing. So do you guys have any last words you want to say from the Orange County side? Closing thoughts?
Stretch.
Yeah, this is that pause.
This is that pause where the one that we cut out.
Well, I would just say, in closing, USDA Foods is very broad in the sense that, yes, you have different buckets that you can allocate your money in, and every district needs to find what works for them. We find that most of our funding we put into processing, because we can implement processing into our menu and we get the best bang for the buck because we do a value volume driven system. So we don't utilize as much brown box as maybe another district would. Instead, we rely more on our produce bid. But when we can bring in the chicken and the beef and the processed other processed menu items itself to add to our already established menu, that's where we find the best. That's what works best for us. And then last year when we implemented the DoD, I mean, we had our reservations, but that has now taken 40% of our entitlement. It started out at 10%, and we have found so much success in it and so many cost savings, and it's just seamlessly integrated into our menus. So now we allocate up to 40% of our dollars in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think very well put, Mallory. I think every district, the size of the district or even the capabilities, many districts have a warehouse. And so they have the ability to maybe store the brown box items in. We rely on our distributor, and it's written in the bid that they house our brown box items at their facility. That said, we have to keep that in check as well. So it's not where a warehouse you can put whatever you want. We can't necessarily do that at a distributor. So every district is going to behave and act in different ways. And I think those three buckets, keeping them, whatever works best for each district is the way to go, obviously. But I would just challenge that just because that's how it's always been done, that may not necessarily be the only way it can be done. I talked to some other districts, and they allocate the same amount for each one of those buckets every single year. And I would just challenge, maybe, like Mallory said, normally we go 10% with the DoD. This year with the COVID and our challenges, we can change that to 40%, and maybe next year it goes back down to 10%. So just because we did it the previous year doesn't mean that that's how we keep going. So I would just challenge other districts out there to challenge themselves and see where else they could look in and define those values.
I love that. Just the way that it's, how did you say that? Just because that's the way that it's been done doesn't mean that's the way it always has to be done. Is that what you said essentially? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Like that's Amanda and I kind of live by that. And it's good to see that sentence, that that mindset, that concept can be used anywhere from your company to how you process USDA foods to life. And that's really cool. I'm going to quote you on that if you don't mind.
David, I like the point that you make about Brown Box, because when Brown Box comes, they drop off a couple pallets on the back door and they run away. But the great thing about NOI is that you can bring in a case or two of that specific product, and that's all housed in your distributor. You don't even have to worry about that. So that is such a huge piece, especially for smaller schools, and smaller size school districts, or larger districts where you guys are getting things shipped directly or direct drops from your manufacturer straight to there. So there's so many positives to it. It does require some knowledge on your pounds and where you've got to go and processing and saying, click, I accepted. I did receive that item. But it's definitely worth it in the long run. And if anyone has access to these programs and you're not utilizing it, definitely reach out to your brokers, reach out to your manufacturers. And look, there's 2 people here who know what they're doing. So pick up a phone and call them. I'm sure you can find their phone number on Google.
Absolutely. Well, Mallory and David, thank you guys so much for hopping on to have this conversation with us. You guys do some truly inspirational things, and we thank you for that and everything that you do for your district. And we're looking forward to sharing this with, districts across the country to help inspire them as well too.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. That wasn't bad, was it?
No.